I'm going to be talking about making 1 and 2 part molds, and I want to show you what I have here, which is a plaster positive, which I was working on this week. I poured the plaster into a bowl, and then I spent some time carving and faceting it, and now it's set in a piece of clay, nice soft clay, that I can utilize as my sort of pouring, my slip repository. So some tools that I used to carve this, I used the Sureform, and we have other tools like coping saws and jewelry saws, but then after I roughed it out, I definitely used some wet, dry, carbon-based sandpaper to smooth it out, and then even a finer grit sandpaper to get it just the way I wanted it. Now, plaster, of course, is porous, and we cannot make molds from porous objects because it really inhibits the plaster cure for the mold itself. So what I've done to treat this piece is first I soaked it in water for about 10 minutes so it's very saturated, and then I covered it with multiple coats of Murphy's oil soap. And this is a nice water-based resist. So, and I put it on, I let it soak in, and then I actually added another layer. So when I touch this, there's this kind of, doesn't inhibit my texture or change the surface, but it's like it feels sort of soapy, but not sudsy. So now I'm ready to put my walls on this piece. I have, for this one, I'm using just a flexible piece of old vinyl that you would use for a floor that will give me, since my piece is kind of round, it'll give me a round surface to a round exterior, so I won't be having to utilize excess plaster because my piece is round, and if I have something that's square as my mold, it's going to, I'm sorry, I'm having issues here with my logging in. So, oh, come on. So yeah, I'm using a round piece of wall out of old vinyl to make my round place for my plaster to be supported. I do also need to seal this edge here with some coils. So I have some clay. I will make a nice quick coil and add that here so that my plaster is not likely to leak out. Now, one word about the clay that you use for mold making, your clay kind of does get destroyed, like it's not going to be good for throwing or hand building or anything like that after you use it for making a mold, but that it still needs to be in really good condition. So don't try to use clay that's already slightly dried out. It's not going to function. It will likely be easier to spring a leak when you want it to be holding the plaster in and not ruining, causing a big plaster mess. So now so this one's pretty much ready to cast. If you look inside, you can see the plaster positive, a ring of clay around that, and then an extra ring which will be the top of the mold when I flip this over and use it right side up. Over here, I have another mold system, and this one is just a one-part mold that I threw on the wheel. I made the plaster a repository for it, and I'm using square cottles for this one to make a square mold instead of a round mold. And a lot of times it just really depends on what's available and what is going to work for you. For these, I do put up the sides, the walls, and then I will be clamping them. On this one, I'm able to just use one clamp to hold the circle together. So, so that's kind of what it looks like from the top, and I will be grabbing some more clamps. We also have C-clamps. You can, various options for you to use for this. I'm going to just be using one more of these squeezing clamps, put it on there, and now this one is pretty much ready. I have put clay coils around some of the edges. I just need to now add the coils to the sides that I didn't have on before I started the video. So got those on. This one looks pretty good. Now the cool thing about making a mold from a leather hard piece of clay is that it is not porous. So I don't even have to put any mold soap or anything on it. It will just it will just resist the plaster and not need to be sealed off. So, oh, and another thing that I did do is on the insides of these wooden walls, I did put a very fine coat of Vaseline on there to keep them from sticking and absorbing the water from the plaster. So at this point, I'm not going to show it right now, but I will. I'm about to pour the plaster into these molds, and in the second part of this series of videos, I will actually show you the pouring, but not in this video. Thank you.